They thought I'd crumble when I saw the photo. They thought I'd scream, fight, or beg. But they forgot who I used to be. The man who once walked through hell with steady hands and cold blood. So when my wife betrayed me with her coworker, and her boss, and even her own mentor, I didn't fall apart. I studied the battlefield. And then I torched it. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more intense, real-life inspired stories every week. If you've ever been blindsided by someone you trusted, this story is for you. My name is Aaron. I'm 39, and I've spent most of my adult life behind a keyboard, writing code that keeps governments safe and systems unbreakable. Ironically, I never saw the betrayal in my own home coming. My wife Brielle and I both work at Synertech, a cybersecurity firm based in Denver. I was in development. She managed strategy. We met at a tech conference 9 years ago, married after 3, and built what looked like a perfect life. House in the suburbs, matching Priuses. No kids yet, just plans. Then one night, I got a message. No name, no intro, just a photo. Brielle, laughing, wrapped around a man's arm. Not staged, not photoshopped. The curve of her hand, the tilt of her head, real. I stared at it for hours. Not because I didn't believe it, but because deep down, I knew. And I'd known for a while. Some betrayals don't scream. They whisper for months before cutting your throat. I didn't wake her. I didn't confront her. Instead, I lay there in the dark, phone burning my palm like a loaded weapon. When she kissed my cheek the next morning, I barely blinked. That evening, she mentioned a work dinner. I nodded. She smiled. And the moment she left, I tracked her. Years ago, we'd installed a safety app on our phones. Just in case, she said. Well, in case had arrived. Her location pulsed from a place we'd never been together, a high-end downtown lounge reserved for board members and backroom deals. I parked across the street, watching through tinted glass. She looked stunning, confident. But what gutted me wasn't the dress. It was the way she laughed with him, like I never existed. I could have driven away, pretended I never saw it. But I needed to see her face when I asked. I needed to know if she'd lie to me, or if her silence would tell me more than any excuse. I walked in. Her eyes locked on mine, and for one flicker, one breath, she froze. "Aaron?" she said, standing. Her voice sweet, measured. "What are you doing here?" I didn't respond with fury. I responded with evidence. I held up my phone. "That photo? Care to explain it?" The table fell silent. Brielle's coworkers shifted. Some stared at their drinks. The man beside her, slicked back hair and smug confidence, smirked like he was in on it. Probably was. "You're embarrassing yourself," Brielle hissed. I didn't care. "You and him?" I nodded toward Mr. Smirk. "Or is this just the appetizer?" A murmur rippled. One woman, Amanda from compliance, glanced nervously at Brielle, then at him. "You really want to do this here?" Brielle asked. "No," I said. "I wanted to do it when I still believed you were honest. The moment you stop believing in someone is the moment they reveal who they truly are." Later that night, she came home. Late. Quiet. Uber parked outside. I was waiting. "I suppose you want the truth?" she said, as if I'd asked for a bedtime story. I didn't nod. Didn't speak. "Yes," she said, arms crossed. "I've been with Jason. And others. Others. Like that word was casual. A footnote. "You think I did it for pleasure?" she snapped. "I did it for position. For leverage. You write code in a cave, Aaron. I navigate people." "And our marriage?" I asked, barely whispering. "Strategic," she said. That was the moment she died for me. Because that wasn't the woman I loved. That was a strategist, in heels. Then her phone buzzed. She didn't hear it. I did. One voicemail. A man's voice. Nervous. "Brielle, it's Clayton. We have to fix the books before audit week. Don't leave a trail. Clayton, the executive VP, the guy who signed every contract I'd spent years securing. Suddenly, it wasn't about her betrayal. It was about fraud, about security clearances, about a company that had a government contract worth billions. She wasn't just cheating on me, she was cheating the country. I didn't sleep that night, didn't eat the next morning. I just drank black coffee and fed my fury with code. See, I wasn't just a guy who'd been cheated on. I was a systems architect. And every system, whether digital or human, has weaknesses. Brielle's phone, still in my possession, became my blueprint. Her passcode? Our anniversary. Fitting. I used it to mirror her entire device onto my laptop. At first, it was the usual junk. Texts, calendars, memes from her team chat. But buried deeper, under a folder labeled Taxes, I found encrypted documents. She tried to hide them, but she didn't count on who I used to be. Military-grade encryption? Cute. I'd cracked tougher defenses at 3 a.m. in a sandstorm on a base without electricity. I found expense reports, invoices, wire transfers to offshore accounts. Brielle and Jason were funneling funds out of Synertech. And Clayton? He was their approval stamp. So no, this wasn't infidelity. This was conspiracy. I reached out to someone I hadn't talked to in years. Derek Ruiz. Ex-military, now private investigator with federal access. He owed me his life. Kandahar, 2009. A Humvee fire. He never forgot it. You give me names and numbers, he said over a grainy call. I'll give you truth. Within 12 hours, he had it. Jason had a secondary bank account in the Caymans. Clayton's wife? The registered owner of a shell consulting firm tied to the funds. And Brielle? She was the common denominator. The architect. I didn't scream. I didn't warn her. I mapped the battlefield and I prepared to strike. But then came the twist. An email. No subject line. No name. Just, "You're not crazy. You're just late. Check the attachment." Inside were screenshots of Brielle's texts. Damning ones. She'd begged Clayton to fudge numbers. Blackmailed Jason. She even framed another woman, Amanda from compliance, to cover her own steps. The sender? Ellen. Brielle's former mentor. She'd resigned months ago after a disagreement. Her message was short. I'm done covering for her. Use this well. And I would. Not out of spite. Out of duty. The warehouse was quiet. No distractions, no noise, no exits. I texted Brielle from a burner. Tonight, 10 p.m., you and Jason. We settle this. No threats, no clues, just bait. She took it. They arrived together. She in heels, Jason limping. Probably still sore from our last confrontation. They looked confident, amused, like they were about to clean up a mess. But they didn't know the storm had already started. You thought I'd break, I said, stepping from the shadows. You thought I'd fade, Jason scoffed. You're out of moves. I raised the USB drive. Every email, every dollar, every cover-up. Triple backed up. And the feds are only one click away. Brielle didn't flinch. She smirked. Then she pulled out her phone and played a video. It showed me. Entering the office unannounced. Jason backed into a desk. Tom frozen on the floor. Video evidence, she said coldly. You didn't expose us. You implicated yourself. Jason grinned. Checkmate. Then a third figure stepped forward. Clayton. Sleek suit. Silver hair. Shark smile. He handed me an envelope. $500,000, he said. You walk. The video disappears. You start over. Or the cops get both sides of the story. I stared at it. I'd lost my marriage, my trust, my sense of self, but I hadn't lost my edge. You're right, I said, taking the envelope. But you're wrong about one thing. Clayton raised an eyebrow. I'm not out of moves. I walked away. They thought they won. But they didn't know what I'd already done. I left that warehouse with a $500,000 bribe in my coat pocket. And their smug faces seared into my memory. They thought I'd sold out, that I'd bought my silence with blood money. But they didn't realize I'd already mailed a copy of the evidence to the federal authorities, from a city 3 states away, under a fake name, with no fingerprints. Even if they destroyed me, their time was ticking. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the same kitchen table where Brielle and I once planned vacations and baby names. Now it was my war room. The envelope lay beside my coffee like a final decision I hadn't opened yet. Sometimes revenge isn't about screaming. It's about silence so loud they never hear it coming. I left the country quietly. No announcement, no trail, just space to breathe. I wasn't running. I was removing myself from the blast radius. But before I left, I made sure the final domino would fall. I uploaded everything: emails, fake invoices, audio recordings, bank links, to an encrypted cloud. Set a timer. If I didn't cancel it in 5 days, the package would be sent to an investigative journalist in D.C., an IRS auditor, and an internal affairs contact I used to brief on contract security back in my Pentagon days. I didn't need to hit send. I just needed to disappear. And then the machine would eat itself alive. Costa Rica wasn't paradise. It was purgatory. I rented a bungalow on a quiet beach. 1 room, no Wi-Fi. Just me, the waves, and the envelope. 3 days in, I met someone unexpected. Not a woman. A man in a weathered leather jacket and mirrored sunglasses. He walked straight to my table at a beachside cafe. Sat down. Didn't order. "You're Aaron, right?" I didn't respond. "I'm Cade. I used to work under Clayton, before they buried me with fake charges." He placed a USB on the table. "Your file took down half the company. The rest? This will finish them." He stood. "I don't want to thank you. I just want them gone." And then he left. I stared at the USB like it was radioactive. My fingers trembled as I plugged it into the laptop I swore I'd never touch again. Inside were video calls, screenshots, and the final nail: Claire's recorded Zoom meeting where she brags about manipulating Clayton and Jason, calls the auditors puppets, and laughs about the fool at home who doesn't even see it coming. Me, the fool. Except I wasn't that anymore. 2 weeks later, the news broke. Small headline, middle of page 7. But it might as well have been fireworks across the sky. Cybersecurity executives arrested in federal fraud probe. Brielle, Jason, Clayton, all pictured, all handcuffed. The charges? Conspiracy, wire fraud, government contract theft, obstruction, federal, unforgivable. I didn't smile, didn't cheer. I just folded the paper and walked down to the ocean. I'm not who I was. My name's different now. So is my face. A little older, harder. But I kept something. A cheap, scratched-up lighter from the first night Brielle and I kissed. It's out of fuel. Doesn't spark anymore. Just like us. I keep it not for nostalgia, but as a reminder that even love can leave scars. And betrayal, it cuts deepest when it's quiet.